Hey, what's up everybody? In this video, we're going to be talking about a revolutionary new Hive system by Primal Bee. Now this one in particular is their Hive starter kit. It comes with 2 deep supers. And since this is the first video in a multi-part series, we're going to focus on the unboxing and setup of this system for you. In future videos, we're going to cover wax and wiring the frames, how to move your bees into this hive, as well as show you how we set up a full apiary out here on our property using Primal Bee. Okay, so here's what you get with the Primal Bee Hive starter kit. Now this is the deep kit, so if you have the medium kit, the boxes may look a little bit different. This also includes the Hive tool, which is a free bonus that they throw in the starter kit, as well as 2 supers. I'm gonna start by unboxing the top box, then we'll get into what's in the bottom. So this is some of that high density EPS foam. These hives are built of this stuff, so it's pretty durable. It is high density. It's not just regular styrofoam, so you may be thinking, oh, that's just like regular packing styrofoam. That is not what this is. And touching this thing in person, it almost feels like ceramic. I know that sounds weird, but I don't think it's as hard as ceramic, of course, but this high density EPS is definitely more durable than just like regular old styrofoam. One thing I'm noticing really fast is the attention to detail. These parts are obviously highly engineered, and I'm expecting that all of this stuff is just gonna fit together like Legos. I actually did have one of these come broken, so I'm guessing it is about like this. So we'll reach out to Primal Bee and we'll see about getting this replaced so that if something like this happens to you during shipping, you'll know what to do. Okay, so I've laid all the pieces out on the floor so we can take a look at what came inside of that first box. Here is what we've got. 4 of those, 4 of those, all these little components here, some sort of a cap piece, and then also the 1 piece of larger mesh and then the tinier circular mesh piece. So quite a bit of stuff packed inside of that first box. Okay, let's take a look at what's inside the bigger box. All right, so here's inside of the larger box. They have a strap that kind of holds everything together. It looks like maybe this thing didn't sort of stay like it was supposed to because some of these corners kind of took a beating during shipping, it looks like, but let's get this opened up and see what we can figure out. So I'm just gonna open up the corner of this box just because it's way easier to get this whole thing out of here. And there's what came inside. Looks like I actually opened it upside down, by the way. This is the manual that came inside the box. We're gonna get ourselves familiarized with this. You should do the same. So it does come with this ratchet strap inside the box. This is already installed on the Hive kit. I didn't have to install this. You have a little lever and some teeth that hold onto the strap material, and that's how you tighten and loosen it. So when it's open, you can loosen. When you let go, it's not going anywhere. I'm gonna loosen it, and now I can get that piece of packing material out from underneath it. All right, so let's take a closer look inside of this. So again, here's the top piece, comes off. Little plug that comes out. This piece also comes off. Again, no locking mechanism because this whole thing is strapped in. And then in here, this is one of those deep frames. This distance here is 18 inches. The total opening space there is 11, if anybody needs to know that. And then these frames themselves right at 25.5. The interior to interior size looks like 24 1/8 or 24. And there's 2 handles on the sides where you can lift this up. It comes off, and then this is the base structure. This is where we had a little bit of damage from shipping. So again, I'll reach out to Primal Bee about this, see what their solution is. Since this is the base or the stand, I don't really know if it matters. I mean, it's just gonna be sitting on the ground and it feels plenty sturdy. Everything just fits right together. There you go. So when we did the unboxing, we covered all the parts that actually come in here, as well as all of these. So how do we fix those pieces that were broken? There's a really easy solution to this. The glue that I'm gonna use is this Gorilla Clear glue, and it is their water-based option. It is approved to work with foam. That's the important detail here. There are other water-based glues out there that I'm sure would work just fine. This one was verified to work with EPS. I picked it up at Lowe's. This is the piece that was broken. You can actually kind of see it right there. And notice when I flex, it actually flexes on this joint. So it's not flexing any longer on the brake. There's no difference now between these. and you actually only need 2 of them to get this set up correctly. So the other 2 that came in the package are actually extras. Same sort of thing with this piece. This is one of the extras that is broken. What I'm trying to do is show you how to fix this when you're in a bind and you don't have time to wait on the replacement parts to arrive. I apply the adhesive to both sides. Now, one important note is that this glue is not instant tack, meaning that it's not going to immediately start to tack up. So what I did with the other piece, and I'm going to do with this one, is I'm going to use the painter's tape and we're going to wrap this up tight. Now, once you feel confident with having it taped up and holding tight enough, you need to let this stuff sit for about 2 hours to set up. I let this other one set overnight because I was able to do that, but the glue does say you need a bare minimum of 2 hours. We got some of the replacement parts in, and as you can see here, they do have these individually labeled, and obviously these are available to you if you have something that comes damaged. Primal Bee did get this sent out and we received it within a few days. Here's this one, the one that we glued up. Here is the new replacement part. They did send us a couple replacements just to be safe. Same thing here. Here's the one that we glued up. So you can see that that is a good option. If you do not get the replacement fast enough and you need to go ahead and continue, you can still use the glue. But if you can wait, you will get a replacement. So now that we know we have a glue we can trust, because we did the test first, these pieces right here get glued up as they get assembled. So that's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna use this glue and we're gonna assemble these. The instruction book shows you clearly how to assemble this and where to apply the glue. They also do have some notes here about gluing, so make sure that you're checking that. If you do have any questions, of course, reach out directly to Primal Bee. We are doing the deep super kit. So when we're talking about the assembly, we're talking about the deep supers. But my understanding is that even the mediums are going to assemble very similarly or the exact same as this. So these side panels on the supers have these teeth on there. Those teeth are what interlock into the front and back sides. So on these, there are little holes there. Those holes are what's gonna receive these pins. So I think what I'm gonna do is apply the glue into these, and then I'm just gonna press them in place. Then we're gonna wrap tape around it, or maybe a strap. Again, there's our glue. Just occurred to me that it'd probably be better to use something like this. It's a glue tool. This one's by Type Bond, but they make lots of different ones. Obviously, we're gonna want the handhold on the outside, so I wouldn't wanna put it in like this and have the handhold on the inside of the box. That wouldn't make any sense. Just to be safe, I put a little bit of glue on the outside of this as well. That is a nice, firm connection. It's definitely not just gonna fall out on its own. So we're gonna repeat the same step for the other sides now. Again, we're gonna make sure this is the correct way. Okay, so handles on this side, handles on this side. Regardless of which way I grab it, I have handles. Now these pieces, it doesn't say to glue them in, they actually sort of press in place. So they go on the inside here, and then also on the bottom. So basically they fit in like this, and they just press into place. For this, I'm going to use some painter's tape because I don't want to ratchet strap something around this and potentially damage it. So painter's tape should do fine. And then just like before, I'm gonna let these sit for at least 2 hours to firm up and hold better. Now next up, I wanna talk about the base stand assembly and how all of this goes together. Now for this, you're gonna have 3 main components. You're gonna have the base stand itself, plus 2 little inserts here for where the bees enter the hive. And then you'll have these 2 additional parts here, where you have your mesh screen and your Varroa board. So underneath here, there's a little track. That's where the Varroa board will slide into place. So we're looking at this on the underside. There is a little lip here on the bottom. This is the lip. So when you're sliding it in, you'd be sliding it in from this direction. And if you'll notice when it's installed, you'll know it's correct because that bottom lip is trapping it in there so that you can access it later on and pull it in and out. The next piece is the mesh. This fits in here. There are little tabs here that separate it and give you a little bit of a gap. Here's that gap right there. The mesh is gonna slide into there. Once you have it correct, you'll have it sitting on this little ledge around the inside. Now, one way you could install this would be with staples. Another way would be with these little tacks. So I'm just gonna use these little clear tacks, and this is what we're going to secure the mesh in place with. So with all the tacks in place, that is what you're looking for. Your last step is to bring back in the little entrance pieces here for the bees, and those just simply sit here and here, which gives you something like this. And now you're ready to set the hive back on top of here. Now the next step is going to be to set up your frames. And in order to do this, you have two options. Number one is going to be to do wax and wire. Now we're not going to be covering how to specifically do the wax and wire process in this video because the process just takes too long and I want to save you some time. So we're going to post a second video to the channel that's going to show you exactly how we do this. If you feel like this is going to be too much of a process for you, you are able to get these plastic foundations. Now these are available on the Primal Bee website and you'll be able to pick these up if you need them as opposed to doing the wax and wire. This is an alternative option to the wax and wire, although you would still want to treat this with wax. That is the preferred method. If you don't have the ability to do that, my understanding is that you still can use it just like this, but the recommendation is to still wax. In the instructions, this is where it shows you. So you have your wiring the frame option here, and then you have your plastic foundations. These little pieces stick up, which allow us to lock into the holes. So there are these little tabs on here, and I'm gonna put this in between the tabs. Okay, so here you can see that I've sort of woven it in between the tabs. Oh, this one's not in there. So now it's there, and then there's one underneath it, and then now we're on top. So that way when it is vertical, it's not just gonna come crashing down if this thing moves around, which hopefully it's not moving around when it's inside of there, but you get the idea. So inside the super box, you have two options for your spacers. You have this one, and you have this one here, depending on the type of frames that you have. So here's an example of a wooden frame. Now, these do not come with the kit, so you would need to supply these yourself. They also make these completely made out of plastic. There's a couple different options here for you to see. The wooden one does not have a foundation in it, but I'm just showing you that you can have different options for these that would work, but remember, this is not something that is included. If you remember when I was assembling the super, I popped these into place here. And so if you needed to swap it out, you just pop out the one you don't need and pop in the one that you do need. They give you 8 of each of these inside of the kit. There's also these two parts that come inside of the box. These are called the nest beams, and they're actually already installed in this part. And I just wanted to show you what these are. These are the extras, and the ones that are already installed are actually in here on the sides. So I'm guessing they give you the extras in case these were to wear out, and then you could replace them, but you have 2 extras. These are already installed out of the box. Now that you know what a nest beam is, we can put the super back on here. This is the feeder lid, and here's an example of a feeder option. This is a glass jar type. It has a metal cap with holes punched in it. This would go into here when you're feeding the bees, but there is another option for this. You can also use a plastic bucket. These have a metal mesh in the top of them that allows the feeding sugar water stuff to come out, and you would place it on here like this. You wouldn't have both at the same time. You would have one or the other. And then this piece right here is the plug. It has some little hand holes on the backside so you can get it in and out of there. And it would just plug the opening like that. So if you were set up for feeding, you would fill this up with the feed. You would put it into here like this, and then you would have your other super, and it would go on top. And then with the little bit of space you have left, you would put the lid on. So here's how the hive will look when you have it ready to go outside. Now we have the top cover on, an empty super with our feeder in there, then your feeder lid, and then the hive itself. Down here at the bottom, we have these 4x4s and 2x4 supports. This of course has the strap installed as they've instructed us from Primal Bee. It would go around this, and you will have a nice open gap underneath, and the strap goes around the bottom of these supports. All right, we have this set up outside. This is the base area for the new apiary. Again, we're going to be showing off our full setup for this in a future video, but I just wanted to show getting this first hive set up so you can see what that looks like. This little base area here we did with pavers on top of gravel and sand. We have a treated lumber perimeter. Those are just 2x4s. Since the hive needs to float and the strap needs to go around these posts, I wanted a way to secure those to this so the whole thing can be strapped down for any high winds or anything like that. And here's another view of it from this way. And if you're wondering why it's off center, It's because each of these is gonna have 2 of the Primal Bee hives on it. So we went ahead and set this one over to the side so that we have enough room for number 2. All right, and that's it for this video. I hope that you found this helpful. If you are in the market for a new beehive or a bunch of hives because you're building your own apiary on your land, I hope that you will check out what Primal Bee has going on. There will be links down in the description for you to save a little bit of money on these, as well as help support the channel. So we appreciate that very much. If you have any questions, please leave those down below in the comments or reach out to us on social media at Tough Guys DIY everywhere. We'll see you in the next video.